first is the end of the Cold War. Just think about the Frank Fukuyama argument. The Fukuyama argument, which was widely accepted in the United States, and I believe the West more generally, is that the Cold War had been an ideological conflict between communism and liberal democracy, and liberal democracy had won. And Frank made the argument in the famous piece that we had defeated fascism in the first half of the 20th century, and then we had defeated communism in the second half of the 20th century. And we had triumphed in a way that was almost unimaginable before the Cold War ended. So we were so full of ourselves when that Cold War ended, right? We just thought that, liberalism was the future. And this is what Fukuyama says. As time goes by, eventually all the countries on the planet are going to turn into liberal democracies because it's a wonderful thing. Once that happens, you're really off to the races, right? Now, throughout the 1990s, the Clinton administration was very hesitant about using military force to support that crusader impulse, and largely because of Vietnam. But then the Afghanistan war happens. And I think what happens in the first few months of that war is enormously important for explaining why we turn to using military force to support the crusader impulse. You remember, we get attacked on September 11th, and then we go to war in mid-October of 2001. And the war is effectively over by early December of 2001. It really goes for 2 months at the most. And it looks like we have won a spectacular victory. The Taliban has been decisively defeated, we believe. The Europeans come in to help run Afghanistan. And we adopt the Bush doctrine at that point because we think we have now found the magic formula for knocking off regimes, putting in a democratic leader, and then moving on to the next target. So after we're done with Afghanistan, we think we can do Iraq. We think Iraq will be quick and easy. Didn't Afghanistan tell us that? We knocked off the Taliban in 2 months. We put Karzai in power. Now we're off to deal with Iraq. I remember when the Israelis caught wind that we were going to do Iraq before we did Iran. This is right around January 2003, if my memory is correct. The Israelis sent a delegation over to talk to the Bush administration to ask why they were doing Iraq and not doing Iran. And the Bush administration and the neoconservatives more generally told the Israelis, relax, we're going to do Iraq. And when we're done with Iraq, we'll do Iran or Syria. And pretty soon all the countries in the region are going to throw up their hands because they're going to understand that we have the magic formula for knocking off regimes and replacing them with liberal democracy. So just don't worry, we'll get to Iran in due course.
So you'll often find in the narratives of people who are all passionate about their great search for meaning, their love for books, you'll often detect a false note or two. You'll kind of sense the strain in their narratives. You'll